So I have 107 days here, except it's chill. A lot of people like to rush the game and build some insane stuff. Instead, I want to do the opposite, right? So no villager trading, no automatic farms, and no end dimension. So yeah, let's do it. I realized pretty quickly that I was just surrounded by jungle and sand, so just like any sane person who realizes they're stuck in the middle of nowhere, I proceeded to butcher the local wildlife. By the time I finished though, night had fallen, so I began building a shack on the shore to protect myself from any potential undead goons. Turns out that wildlife I unalived can't be cooked, so I had to find actual food in the night before I started going hungry. I hunted more fish nearby, but they were all tropical except for that wood cod. I ate him. I decided to sail out to the sea to find other fish types until I found a bunch of salmon in this river. On the way back home, I found a ruined portal with some armor, which was nice. Since I was surrounded by desert and jungle, animal meat was going to be hard to come by, so I mined a bunch of grass to get wheat seeds instead. Found a pretty big cave while I was doing that too. I filled in the floor of the shack with some cobblestone slabs, made a hoe, and some ladders so I could start work on my underground wheat farm. I dug out this small area underneath the house, which meant nothing could trample my crops. Using the iron I cooked, I made a bucket so I could bring water down to the farm. I also crafted a shield and ventured out onto the island to find spiders. I needed string to craft wool since there weren't any sheep on any of the nearby islands. I also found one beside this creeper, but he didn't drop anything. And unfortunately, the night ended before I could find any more of them. I started day 3 by gathering a bunch of dirt to use for the wheat farm, but this wheat was going to take a while to grow, so I travelled south of the starter island in search of some victims. I found a flock of chickens chilling on this island, so I kidnapped Gertrude and told their family I'd come back for one of them tomorrow. After more sailing, I finally found a biome that wasn't sand or jungle. I unalived pigs, cows, and sheep, which meant I could finally craft a bed. While giving some casual love taps to the animals, I found this Swick ravine, mining some iron there before I eventually found another Swick ravine, mining some coal there before I found another Swick. Okay, yeah, you get the point. Once I made it home, I brought Gertrude to his new luxury home and returned to his island to snatch another victim. I honestly thought they would have ran away by now, but they didn't. I put Terrence in the hole and you might want to look away for this. I cooked my newfound meat before casually creating infinite water for the rest of eternity so I could easily bring down water to the wheat farm. With the newly acquired leather, I could craft an item frame, which meant I could finally put up my clock as decoration. Spent the rest of the day digging out more space for the underground wheat farm. I then mined out the floor so I could replace the stone with the dirt I gathered earlier. I tilled the soil and started placing all my wheat seeds. At least if Gertrude and Terrence fail me, I'll have crops to keep me going food-wise. Speaking of which, I should probably make a pen for them since this hole seems pretty inhumane for my future food. I kind of forgot to make fence gates before using all my wood, so I guess these doors will have to do. Now I had a look at my shack and yeah, this needs a bit of work. I spent most of the day just adding some small details to the shack to try and make it look at least semi-respectable, alright? Still not amazing, but I guess it'll do for now. While I waited for my wheat to grow, I figured it was time to venture into that cave I found a few days ago. The terrain was pretty awkward to navigate. It wasn't quite like the caves I'm used to. It actually led to the skeleton shooting underneath my shield, and he even knocked me down to 3 hearts. These goons are incredibly annoying. After mining more coal and iron, I gathered enough to craft iron leggings, boots, and a helmet, as well as a new axe and pickaxe. I'm glad I made those because I spent a lot of time fighting off a bunch of goons and taking in lots of damage. Following that traumatic experience, I wanted to go home, so I increased our chickens, and would you look at that, our wheat finally finished, so that's 28 wheat we can use for food. On the morning of day 9, I smelted the ores I collected, cut down a jungle tree for more wood, and cleared out this area for an upcoming storage house I plan to make. I also took out this cube thing to gather more dirt, which I wanted to use to extend the wheat farm even more. I threw on the spare acacia fences I crafted on top of the water sources, not just so it'd look a lot nicer, but also to help with the lighting. It's looking good so far. Hopefully we'll get a lot of bread coming in soon. Began constructing the walls of the storage house in the morning, but I had to stop to gather more jungle wood. Spent the rest of the evening cutting down trees because I underestimated how much wood this build was going to take. I continued to work on the storage house, but again had to stop to harvest wheat, which I finally converted into our first batch of bread. Heading back to the storage house, I chose to make the roof out of cobblestone to mix things up, working well into the night. I think it looks alright, to be honest. Remember, I'm going totally blind into these builds, alright? I'm just going with the flow and seeing what happens. End of the day, having finished both of the roofs. I wanted to work on the interior on day 13, so while cobblestone was smelting, I put in a door and began replacing the floor of the house. But after thinking about it for a bit, I actually kind of liked the grass floor, so I kept kept it. In order to make a storage house an actual storage house, I put in some chests and punched some holes for windows. I then dug out some paths to connect the storage house to my shack and the animal pen, filling it in with stone and cobblestone. Found this goon invading my property. Your Honor, it was self-defense. I harvested wheat in order to make myself more bread. Actually, I'm pretty sure this is poison for someone like me. And anyway, I went to get a bunch more wood, specifically oak and acacia, since I was running low on those. Ending the 2-day trip with about 3 stacks of oak and acacia logs, so it's not too bad. Once I was home, I brought all my old items from the shack over to the new storage house. I don't know why I didn't do this sooner. I thought it'd be useful to build a small port out the front of the island, since we'll be doing a lot of sailing in this world. It's nothing too fancy, just, basic layout with slabs, logs, and fences, the usual stuff. I built some lampposts too, which I actually think was a pretty nice touch. Today's goal is to just clean up the island, because it's a bit of a mess right now. I built 2 more of those lampposts in the morning, and speaking of light, I had to torch up this nearby island since it was full of enemy goons last night. Man, I am really glad these guys don't know how to swim. Before continuing the cleanup, I crafted a new set of tools for an upcoming mining trip I plan to do in that ravine I found a while back. I connected the path to the port, and I was going to grab my boat to prep for the mining trip, but Samuel and his buddy hijacked it. I debated murdering them, but then I realized he was chill like that, so I let him have it. I finally replaced those stupid jungle doors with acacia fence gates at the chicken farm, and so overall, this place is looking a lot cleaner. I wanted to go on that mining trip to the ravine so I can get more iron, coal, and maybe get a few diamonds. On the way down, I found an amethyst geode, which is cool, but completely useless. I kept exploring the caverns, but I soon found myself in an awkward spot trying to kill these creepers. The last creeper was about to explode, alright, and kill me, but I just managed to murder it on the very last hit of my axe before it broke. I found my first piece of redstone ore, but then I encountered some goons, and suddenly 2 baby zombies emerged from the darkness to murder me. I tried fighting them off before running away, but they still caught up with me. Thankfully, one got caught in the water, so I managed to kill them both. There's still a lot of cave to explore here, but unfortunately, I've run out of bread, so I'll have to come back another time. It's a shame I didn't find any Oh, wait, they're right here. On day 19, I made it back home and smelted all the ores I mined. Using my newfound diamonds, I was able to craft my first diamond pickaxe in this world, unlocking obsidian, meaning we could finally reach the nether. This chicken farm is really starting to get populated, but we all know Gertrude and Terrence can do better than this. To increase wheat production, I wanted to build more of the wheat farm on the surface, because that underground farm is just kind of ugly, man. So I got to work flattening this small sand island, replacing most of it with dirt and tilling the soil. I planted all the wheat seeds I had, but I still couldn't fill the entire area. I also built a small oak bridge across the farm because I figured it'd look cool, I guess. I wanted to give this farm a unique look though, so I was going to build a ring of cobblestone around the new farm, kind of like an old ruined wall from medieval times. I farmed more of my wheat to get seeds, and this never stops being satisfying, by the way. I managed to fill the rest of the soil with those seeds, but I still lacked cobblestone to finish the walls. So I knocked out 2 birds with 1 stone, began digging out a second layer of the underground farm so I could get more cobblestone and increase wheat production. Once I gathered enough stone, it was time to get back to work. I added 2 small entrances because I wanted to give myself some flexibility when it comes to moving around the island. I built through to the evening, placing various bits of stairs, slabs, and walls to try and give this some unique shape. I continued that detailing until the morning, and I think it's safe to say this is a very cool addition to the base. Since I had already started work on the second layer of the wheat farm, I figured I'd just finish it off today, so grabbed a few stacks of dirt and headed down the ladder. I fully mined out the entire area, replaced it all with dirt, tilled that dirt, and planted my seeds. I had an issue here where some of the crops wouldn't plant. Turns out they need some level of light, which sucked because I had to remove this cool water fountain thing I had going on. Afterward, I returned to the surface. I was really proud of my slaves here, they were all well behaved and were producing some serious volumes of eggs for me, but that pride was short-lived. You see, Terrence actually managed to escape, and although I had much respect for what he had contributed to this society, I had to make an example of him. I mean, if I let him go, then the flock is going to question why and want freedom for themselves. I just can't let that slide. So, I killed him, threw his remains into the town square, a reminder of the consequences of disobedience. Also, Emmanuel stole another one of my boats, but I'll let it slide. He's chill like that. My next goal was to find a village, not to trade with them, but to steal their entire food supply by yoinking their carrots and potatoes, because I want to diversify my crops and unlock the ability to farm pigs. Plus, grab some pumpkins. I started sailing south once again, and after a few hundred blocks I stumbled upon an acacia village. Unfortunately, they only had wheat seeds, smoker, and a nosy sheep, so I left to find another one. Honestly, I found some pretty cool locations exploring this world. The terrain in some of these places has some serious potential, bro. Serious potential. Along the way, I found another ruined portal with exactly the thing I've been searching for my whole life. Glistering melons. At sunset, after traveling through the plains, oak and birch forests, I finally found some dumbass pumpkins. On the raining morning of day 25, I found the village I'd been looking for. It had a blast furnace, some food, but most importantly, potatoes and carrots. So when I finally got home, I started cooking my pork chops with the new smoker, and also made use of my leather by crafting a few item frames to show my different chest types in the storage house. I don't know why it took me so long to do that, but anyway. Now that we have plenty of wheat grown on a daily basis, I felt it was time to build my next animal farm, the cow farm, since they provide much better food than any of my current food sources. While I was building the new pen, Reggie just spawned out of thin air and settled into my new pen. Hey Reggie. Not cool. I needed 2 victims to start up the cow farm though, so I hopped on my boat and traveled out to find them. During the search, I got some of the sugar cane so I could grow my own back at base. I eventually found a group of cows in the acacia biome, so I strapped them to my boat and brought one of them home. Before I went to sleep for the night, this thunderstorm started, and it led to this beautiful shot. Like, oh, god damn, it's beautiful. The next morning, I returned to the acacia biome to bring cow number 2 home safely, and yeah, you know what's happening next. I planted the sugarcane I collected yesterday so I could slowly start getting paper, which I could use to craft books for an enchantment table. Now that I had also grown enough bread to last longer trips, I decided it was time to head back to the caves for more resources. I really need the iron and coal, especially for new tools and cooking all the raw meat that'll be coming in over the next few weeks. Getting some diamonds too for the enchantment table would be nice. This time I headed west, as I've never actually gone in that direction before. I found a big mesa biome, which looked pretty cool, until I discovered the desert village. I borrowed their hay bales just in case I need the extra food. I literally never used this, by the way. I spent the rest of the day sailing across a vast ocean until settling at a plains village for the evening. Get the fuck out of my way. You're ruining the shot. I would go caving for the next 3 days near this acacia village. Unlocking the fortune enchantment is definitely a goal for the future. It's actually so painful how many more ores you have to mine without it. As I traveled down to deep slate level, I discovered a mine shaft, but I didn't explore for long. We've got a goddamn mission to complete. Thankfully I survived because I wouldn't have found this giant cave opening down here. I hopped down and torched the whole space to prevent any more goons from unaliving me. I just hit the jackpot though. There are so many diamond ore veins down here. So after mining endless amounts of diamonds, I managed to craft myself full diamond armor with even a couple diamonds to spare. I guess it's time to head back up. Wait. Is that another diamond? Man, this trip was way more productive than expected. We got so much shit. On day 33, I returned to the surface and spent most of the day traveling home. Once I got there, I smelted the ores we gathered and lit up more of the forest on the island. I guess my near-death experience has changed my perspective on life. Things have been going pretty quickly the last few days. We've gotten a ton more resources recently. So the next morning, I crafted an armor stand and put my old armor on, so I can remind myself how far we've come. To help with the enchanting, I crafted an anvil with the iron we gathered, but now, after several weeks, it's time to reap the rewards of Gertrude's labor. I began clearing out this space for an upcoming build I'm planning to do, but I'll explain that one later.
You better not be an Emmanuel or a Samuel, Timmy. I'm counting on you.
For now, I want to start growing my other food sources I got from that village because it's going to take a while for them to grow. I made some room beside the beach, tilled 3 plots, one for carrots, potatoes, and the dumbass pumpkins. And to fit the overall aesthetic of the base, I surrounded each with some cobblestone and slabs. But I still wanted to differentiate them, so I added in a bit of acacia wood to mix it up since they are much smaller plots. I wanted to finally craft that enchantment table so I could gather blocks quicker to make more builds on the island. I sailed out to the ruin portal I found on day 2 so I could yoink the obsidian there. The portal was full of water though, so I had to mine the nearby sand in order to clear out the water. I thought it'd be easy to do this, but it ended up taking the entire day. When I got home that night, using the new obsidian, I managed to craft the enchanting table. Probably shouldn't have taken that entire day, but oh well. I woke up to immediately enchant a few iron pickaxes. I only got efficiency 1 out of them though, so I'll definitely need to get a bunch of bookshelves if I want to upgrade the enchantments. So that area I cleared out a few days ago, well, that's gonna become a blacksmith. I want to move these furnaces out of my house and have an actual dedicated space for each furnace type, including a spot for my anvil. It's been a while since I constructed an actual building in this place, so I think a blacksmith will be a good addition to the base. So the first thing I was going to need was a bunch of cobblestone, so I headed over to that quarry thing I dug out a while ago ago. By the end of the day, I had managed to get about 6 stacks of cobblestone. I'll be honest with you peeps. Alright, I am sick of this jungle wood at this point. Alright, I wanted to use something different for this build. I did find this villager outpost along the way, which I should probably avoid if I want to live. Oh, never mind. Thing is, once I got there wasn't a single soul in sight. It was actually kind of creepy. I got a goat horn though. I also found the imprisoned allies. I should probably save you guys, but I won't. Instead of skipping the night like I usually would, I thought I'd sail through the ocean instead. It's been a minute since I last took time to appreciate the atmosphere of this game, and honestly, this was a vibe. I should do this more. As the night came to a close, I stumbled upon another acacia village, but it was on day 40 I decided to abandon my spruce forest hunt and head home. I had traveled so far and I still couldn't find anything. I was so disappointed, I took my vengeance out on these cows. I mean, I need the leather for the bookshelves. That makes it okay, right? Right? Day 41. I found this cool cherry tree chilling on this hill. That is a weird sentence. Anyway, again, this shader pack just makes everything beautiful to look at. As I was making my way home, I found a wolf in an oak forest. I only had 5 bones to give the young fella, but this greedy bastard took all 5 of them. I know what kind of man you are. Cool. I arrived back on the starter island and immediately started cooking all the beef and pork I just magically found in my inventory. With the leather I also magically received, I crafted 24 books and put them away. We'll be needing them later. For the roof of this blacksmith, we're gonna need some moss blocks, which means it's time to go back to the caverns. I was gonna stay for longer, but a creeper nearly killed the dog, so I figured it was time to go. In the end, we got plenty of moss blocks, carpet, and grass, so it was a successful mission to say the least. I started with building the walls of the blacksmith, but then I soon realized that this building would be covering the small crop farms I made, so we're just gonna ignore that and pretend it's not a problem. This is the shape I'm going for with this build. I really like the idea of like a slanted roof. It's not really something I've done very often. The next day I stripped some logs, crafted trapdoors so I could build the frame of the roof using slabs, stripped logs, then stairs, and so on. And then ended the day gathering my natural blocks, including some jungle leaves I forgot to get earlier. Once that was done, I filled in the roof frame with different blocks like moss, carpet, leaves, even melons and dirt, which I honestly didn't even plan for, but I think it kind of added to the detail of this build really nicely. Once that was finished, I turned my attention to texturing the walls, so I cooked some stone and slapped them onto the walls because just using cobblestone looked kind of weird. Also added in some stairs to give it a final touch, but I didn't throw in any doors for the doors because having door frames without doors looks a lot better than door frames with doors on them. Or you know what I'm saying, guys? We're almost finished with the exterior. We just need a few more details. Firstly, I put in some iron bars in as windows. Then I put some mossy cobblestone in to improve the color of the walls. Then got to work on a key piece of the build, which was the overhang. This is where I want to put the anvil. I kind of imagine myself doing a lot of enchanting work out here in the fresh air, whereas the furnaces would be smelting stuff inside the building.
Oh no, he's trying to escape. He's too smart.
I spent the entire day just placing stock around the blacksmith. I wanted this to feel like some kind of ruined shack that is in dire need of repairs. I put down some flower pots, but I had no flowers, so I went to get some cactus. I was gonna sail to the desert island nearby, but then...
Emmanuel, what did I tell you? You have 1 in that bow. You have 2 in 1 bow.
Alright, anyhow, we got the cactus and put them in the pots. Then I moved the anvil in, plus I crafted a grindstone smithing table to finish the setup. Then lastly, I connected the blacksmith to the rest of the paths, so overall, I think we did a good job on this. Looks like Gertrude plotted the greatest escape of all time, and it actually worked. I knew I should have unalived it when I had the chance. Well, I guess I should combine the pens together now. Won't be needing this one anymore. The next important build we'll need is an enchanting room, so we can get some high-level enchants for our gear. Using the books I had been gathering over the last month, I crafted a bunch of bookshelves. I accidentally had exactly enough books, which was so satisfying. While I was trying to figure out where to build my enchantment setup, I decided to connect the wheat farm to the rest of the pathways. Then I thought we should probably extend this shack because I think we're starting to outgrow it by this stage. So while I was laying out the foundations, I had the idea to put our enchanting setup in the basement of the new house. So I began digging out a small area underneath the sand. I placed the bookshelves, then finally the enchanting table. It looks kinda ass right now, but we're gonna come back and fix this once we get our new house built. Alright, let's enchant some stuff. Let's do our pickaxe first, and efficiency 3 and breaking through. Okay, fortune 2. Okay, yeah, not too bad. That's pretty good. That's gonna make our mining trip so much easier. Now, if we can get some looting on this thing, we're gonna be sorted, lads. We'll be absolutely rolling in the food. Are you fucking kidding me? Sweeping edge, bane of arthropods, knockback. Oh my, what the heck? Alright, I refuse to accept this. Come here, cows. Alright, I'm level 30. Let's try this again. Okay, looting 2 is good. You know what? I'll take that. I joined a staring contest with this rainbow on the morning of day 54, but I didn't know the shade pack even had these in the game. I realized I was running low on coal, so I went east to search for a cave. Besides, I want to put this new fortune pickaxe to good use. I discovered this mineshaft pretty early on, but it soon led me to this spider dungeon, which had a golden apple in it. Nice. I kept exploring until I found another spawner, but this time it was a skeleton one. Could be useful to get some bone meal, maybe. Got myself into a scuffle with some skeletons until suddenly a spider jumped out to murder me. But then the skeletons started attacking the spider instead of me. They battled it out and they both lost. After more mining, I found another spawner. That's 3 different dungeons, all within the same cave system. I didn't get as much coal as I wanted in the end, so I'll probably have to go and get more eventually. By the end of the day, I felt like enchanting some more of my gear with the levels I gained during the mining trip. I managed protection 3 on the chestplate and blast protection 4 on my pants. On the morning of day 57, I collected over 3.5 stacks of iron that I smelted from our mining trip yesterday. We are rolling in this stuff now. Using the experience I got from that, I enchanted my boots to get Depth Strider 3 and Unbreaking 3, which wasn't too bad, but I was hoping for some feather falling because we're going to hell. I wanted to get more XP and possibly find a fortress while doing that. I arrived in the creepy soul biome, I don't remember what it's called, but anyhow I murdered this ghast with my axe. That was pretty cool. I literally cannot find a single fortress out here. Maybe it isn't real. Maybe it's all in my head. Nope, never mind. I sat here waiting ages for a blaze to spawn, and I got 3 of them. That's not embarrassing at all. I really should have brought my looting sword to get more of these rods, but you know what? I'm good. With that XP and traumatic memories I collected, I got to enchant my final piece of armor, getting Aqua Affinity and Protection 3 on the helmet. It's been a busy couple of days, so I kind of just want to chill at the base today. I started with my usual farming for wheat, then I went out to the forest to grab some jungle logs. This was so I could touch up on the walls of my storage house, as I never actually textured this thing. I think that looks good. I thought I'd give it another go at getting a second looting 2 sword so I can combine it with my existing one, but turns out I got one even better than that. Of course, what better way to try out your new thing than by butchering your local livestock? I slept pretty well that night. Honestly, you'd think I was lying, but I literally spent an entire day expanding my pen for the cows because it was getting pretty full even after I did some slaughtering yesterday. Alright, get back to work, guys. I'm hungry. When I woke up on day 62, I grabbed all the beef I cooked a few days ago, and we came out with nearly 4 stacks of steak. I wonder how that happened. After that, I enchanted my axe with efficiency 4. We're gonna need to mine a bunch of wood later for the next build project. Oh hey, would you look at that? It's later now. So I hopped on a boat and traveled out to sea to find some jungle trees. I found this island with a bunch of trees on it, so I got cutting, and more cutting, until I passed out on the beach. I woke up the next morning getting jumped by some goons. I don't know why it took me so long to kill these guys, but it did. I continued to mine for logs until I left the island with about 7.5 stacks of jungle wood. It was so satisfying, I even went over and cut down 5 more stacks of oak logs. I never realized how fun this deforestation thing is, bro. Like, I should do this again sometime. It's time to carry the boats and the logs. Well, just the logs. I sailed home on the boat. Man, I don't know if I have enough wheat for all of you. After I was done, I burned their bodies. I don't know why I did this. wasn't even hungry. With the logs we mined yesterday, I sailed out to start the next project. I want to build a fishing post out in the middle of the ocean. I like the idea of going to a safe place to relax and fish out in the middle of nowhere. I started building it here, but I didn't really like how close it was to my base, so I scrapped it and moved further out. Built up the core pillars with logs. I made a small base platform out of slabs, but by the time I rebuilt all of this, it was already nighttime. I spent the morning starting work on the roof. I thought I'd throw in some moss blocks to give it some interesting color and shapes. I want this thing to stand out when you sail past. I spent the entire day trying to make this roof design work, but it just wasn't clicking for me. By the evening, I decided to make each side symmetrical and build it up like a wizard. Hurry. I'm glad I brought the moss and leaves. I think it'll give it a unique look compared to just a regular ass wooden roof. Now, I don't want any goons to jump me while I'm fishing, so I threw up some lanterns and now our fishing outpost is complete. I then spent the rest of the evening fishing. I caught absolute trash, but I didn't care. It was all about the present. It felt oddly comforting fishing in the rain. I think it's safe to say I succeeded with this one. The rainbow from day 54 came back for another staring match, and again, it lost. I got distracted and crafted a bunch of diamond pickaxes for some reason, and I traveled out to the nether portal to get some obsidian. But when I got there, I finally found my dog. He was just trying not to drown out here for like 2 weeks. I kind of forgot I left him here. Whoops. After mining more obsidian, I headed down into the nether and began digging the staircase. But then I suddenly realized that I was living in a shithole, so I sailed back home with Doggo and brought him back to a dark cave. I mined some decorative blocks for the house's roof. On day 69, nice, I began construction of my new home's renovations. And by renovations, I mean rebuilding the entire fucking house. I spent all evening figuring out the roof style before eventually filling it in. In the morning, I refined the design and texture of the roof, mixing leaves in like I did with the outpost. This turned out pretty slick in my opinion, considering this is just building with no plan. I spent a while figuring out how I wanted to connect the old house to the new one, but in the end I decided to scrap the old roof entirely and just make it match the style of the new one. Day 71, I built the new roof and connected it to the other one. Then replace the sand here with a cobblestone floor. Also enchanted myself an efficiency 4 pickaxe. I have no idea why. I just need to connect the house to the old one, and boom, we're no longer living in a shack. It's time to make some key interior choices though. I added in a second floor for a future bedroom, perhaps. Changed around some of the windows for some natural light, you know what I'm saying? And then by the evening, made a makeshift spiral staircase to access the second floor and the enchantment room below. I spent the morning of the day hanging around, thinking about how I wanted to decorate the rest of the house. Put in some more windows, fed the dog, maintained the farm, and then I just... So this isn't really how I wanted to end the video, but I'm not gonna fake this, alright? I'm gonna be completely honest with you. My 4-year-old SSD the other month died, and with it went a bunch of stuff, including the hardcore world, so yeah. I honestly think I could have made it to 107 days, but I guess that's life. I had a lot of fun on this world regardless, and I think the world I set for myself made it way more fun. I really want to try survive longer for next time though, so if you enjoyed and you'd like to see more of this, definitely let me know. We're also trying to grow the Goose Army. We've got a community Discord in the description below. We'd love to have you. We're trying to build up the community as much as we can, boys, so yeah. With that being said, I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.